Okay, I'd like to call the Historic District Commission to order. I'm Mary Ewald. To my left is Lorelei Dorr. To my right is Grace Sales and Sarah Cohn. If everyone has had a minute to look at them, I'd like to look at the agenda and look at the approval of the minutes from the August 27th meeting. Is there a motion to approve as submitted, or are there corrections?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of the August 27, 2025 meeting approved as submitted.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on down the agenda to public comments. Are there any public comments on any non-agenda item? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. This next case, we're going to take it in two parts. The first one, HDC 2521, 2152 6th Street. Is the applicant here? If you could step to the podium and state your name for the record, make sure that you push down on the microphone so when they do the minutes, they can hear you well. They are asking in this case for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the exterior back and screen doors. Is there anything more, sir or ma'am, that you would want to tell us about your project?
I don't think so. I think we just have back door that the door is loose and we want to kind of make it so that it closes right. And then that screen door back is ripped.
Yeah, the packet was very good and it had a lot of the information we need. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I just wanted to ask if the doors that you're replacing, if the opening is going to be changing at all, if it will be replaced with the same size.
We're going for the same size.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 1 to 1.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that the Historic District Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for all work described and depicted by the work review application for case HDC 25-21 submitted by the applicant. The applicant has demonstrated the work will comply with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation 1 through 6 and 9, as well as Section 6411C of the city's Historic Preservation District regulations.
Is there support?
Support. Support.
It's been moved and supported to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of those doors. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the second part of your project, they are requesting a notice to proceed to demolish a chimney that was significantly damaged by the weather. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your project?
Yes, for the record, this is Erin Goss. I'd like to note that this is leaking water into our interior closet.
And this chimney, is that on the, well, what side of the house? The left
It's on the
side?
back.
On the back. Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
None of your utility exhausts are going through the chimney at this time. They go out through the side of the house, the foundation.
No, they go through the side of the house.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to grant a certificate of appropriateness? I'm sorry, a notice to proceed.
I move that demolition proposed in case HDC 2522 meet the findings required by Section 64-14A of the City Code. The resource constitutes a hazard to the safety of the public or to the structure's or occupants. Retaining the resource will cause undue financial hardship to the owner when a governmental action, an act of God, or other events beyond the owner's control created the hardship, and all feasible alternatives to eliminate the financial hardship, which may include offering the resource for sale at its fair market value or moving the resource to a vacant site within the historic district, have been attempted and exhausted by the owner.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to grant a notice to proceed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries. You can certainly, thank you for coming tonight. You can follow up with Terry and Lisa in the office, and they will give you any further direction that you need. Okay? Thank you so much. Okay, moving on down the agenda to case HDC 25-23, 2215 Carroll Road. They are looking for a certificate of appropriateness to replace the roof with shingles and then put a soffit over that underside of that overhang that will include roof vents. I don't believe the builder was going to be able to make it. Is there anything that we have questions for that perhaps Terry can answer?
I have no questions.
I have a question, and maybe I didn't see it on the packet, but is there, it's not cedar shake on the entire roof, is it? It's just a portion, isn't it?
House, and then they do show existing cedar shake. So, let's see. Then they show the garage. So it would appear a portion of the roof still has the wood shake.
Yeah, it says the lower level on the back side of the house already has asphalt shingles.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Page number 5. For me, it's page 38.
Well, under number 5, it says lower level roof replacement has asphalt shingles, but it doesn't match the rest of the house where there is cedar shake shingles.
Yeah,
So it currently doesn't match, the whole thing doesn't match.
Right.
yeah, it does look like that, that cedar shake is on the whole house, though.
It probably is on the majority of the house.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the Historic District Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for all work described and depicted by the work review application for case HDC 25-23 submitted by the applicant. The applicant has demonstrated the work will comply with the U.S. Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation 1 through 6 and 9, as well as section 6411C of the city's Historic Preservation District regulations.
I still have some questions. Are they putting solar on here?
What they have is they've got some ventilation, so what they were proposing to do was to have a top vent roof, and then let me see where this solar was gonna go here. So the one is a deck air, And that's just within the main roof. And then the solar, what is the solar? That's all the one. So let me go back to their description. Do they say? Oh, come on, where's their written description? I thought they just had it. Didn't they have one? Let me go through this again.
I think the only solar that they're referring to is on this page, and that is the exhaust fan. It is hooked to a solar.
And that would be on like an end gable then? Is that where I would assume a vent like that would be?
Yeah, it's an attic fan.
Because they wanted additional temperature control and circulation, yeah, because that was what spoiled the roof quickly last time.
Yeah,
Okay, it's been moved to grant a certificate of appropriateness. Is there support?
Support.
Is there any further questions?
Yes. This fan still has to have an exposed panel somewhere. It's running on solar, so it has to have a panel somewhere on the exterior.
see. I thought they had a written thing, didn't they?
It couldn't be under the soffits because that wouldn't catch the sun. It has to be somewhere that would, on
Well,
top.
it says here, the solar panel will not protect from weather. Rather, it is the shingle that you place back over the hole. Use silicone sealant. It looks like there's the vent. I think this is it right here. And if you look here, it's that middle picture on the top that looks like a shingle that kind of lifts up a little bit.
But is it mounted on the roof? Where is it mounted?
It's mounted on the roof. It's mounted on the roof, and when the thing is open, it's like the shingle kind of lifts up a little bit.
There is the description that they had provided in the written statement. Number 3 is describing it. It says currently the house has little ventilation, which contributed to the premature deterioration of the roof system. At the eaves and So it says that this 40-watt solar-powered vent would be at the ridge on the back side of the house. These installations will improve attic airflow, regulate temperature. So it's...
I see it now. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, sorry that wasn't clear.
And then did they provide, I know that we don't typically do color, but did they tell us what color shingle they were using?
I don't, let's see if they have it specified here. It just says a Owens Corning duration shingle. And then it just explains a little bit about that, but it does not speak to color, and I don't think they highlighted that in the report. So I can't answer that question as far as color.
My only thought is if you look at the sample colors, you know, something like this colonial slate would be extremely inappropriate. So I was just looking at, I assume they're probably going to go with gray, I would guess, but we don't have any idea. Like some of these are multicolored,
Right.
you know, and kind of weird. Or like that bright terracotta or something. And I don't know, Mary, do you know offhand? I know that typically when it comes to like paint and stuff, we don't have any say over color, but is that still true with shingles?
Colors.
It does say that they intend to match the new roof on the main house to the existing garage roof. So I assume from that it's probably the same color as that garage, which was, I think, gray.
It was gray, wasn't it?
Yeah, number 4, photo 4, be like a gray.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, and we have a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Terry, if you can follow up with Mr.
Yep,
Shannon
I sh-
and let him know that we did take action on this, and we based it on his
Yep.
application that said he was matching, you know, the roof to the other one that is currently there that's gray.
Right. All right. We will communicate that.
Is there any other business to come before the committee?
We will be able to cancel the September 24th Historic District Commission meeting because we did get this last case on tonight's agenda, so that's been settled. And we'll be able to have our Planning Commission meeting in the chambers that evening. So that's all I have.
Any luck in finding your replacement or
Well,
Tony's replacement?
we narrowed it down to a list of 5, so HR is in the process of making those arrangements. We got some good candidates. The only thing is the majority of the 5, I think 4 of them, are from out of state. Pennsylvania, Alaska, Canada. Somebody from Ontario, Canada wanting to come back to Michigan. Yeah, Pennsylvania.
At least we have some interest, so we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, yep, we're going to get those interviews scheduled and get started on that. And the one thing I guess I'll observe or make a comment on is this morning I was at the DDA meeting, the Downtown Development Authority, and they are in the process of engaging with the Michigan Main Street, which is a historic preservation, economic development. They kind of tie the two together and do different planning activities. They have the opportunity to one day have some grant opportunities. But I was thinking about, what was going on with the Main Street and the field of historic preservation around the Main Street. Well, then just today or the day before, we got an email that says our annual report will be reviewed because every I guess, 3 years or 4 years, they have to do an evaluation. Well, I looked at the checklist, and it does say, you know, has the Historic District Commission participated in any group activities such as DDA, Main Street? So my goal is, with this new historic preservation planner, is to have them be engaged in that Michigan Main Street. I don't think there's ever been a desire, at least that I have heard, to have the downtown as a designated local historic district. A lot of people thought that it's operating just fine without it, and I would tend to agree, especially if you look at the Chemical Bank building and what was accomplished with that major renovation. But I do think the field of historic preservation, you know, we could lend some assistance and maybe make that connection between what the DDA is working on and maybe some of the experience of the historic district. Because I did tell Tony that the HDC is bigger than just doing case reports. It depends on what we want to engage them in. But if you look at that evaluation as being a certified local government, you know, it does tell us that we have to be proactive, try to reach out in, you know, historic preservation fields. And I don't know exactly how it would all fit together, but I would like to have this new person be a little bit more involved in what is happening in the downtown with the DDA, and maybe, you know, have some experience of the HDC lend over. The other thing, as I was going through that evaluation checklist, they asked about, have we prepared a preservation plan? And I was kind of scratching my head saying, well, I don't ever recall doing a preservation plan. So is that something that they're looking for? But I believe that the certified local government is a responsibility that we have within the field of historic preservation. There's some things that were listed, like have city staff or the HDC participated in the review of a national registration nomination. Well, we haven't had any that I'm aware of, but that's a role that they can play. Another checklist item was some of the grants that are distributed through SHPO. You know, do any of those involve the historic preservation oversight of that project? So there's some things that I learned just going through that quick evaluation checklist. But, you know, I do think that this position, even though we've been told from the day that the expanded district was created, I remember the city manager, Robert Bellman, very specifically, emphatically stating that, well, you're not going to be able to hire a historic preservation officer. So we kind of knew that our community development planner was going to have to serve the role as the historic preservation officer, because the only other position that we're getting ready to advertise for is a zoning enforcement officer. So we've got 2 vacancies in our department, and the zoning enforcement officer is going to work a lot more with site plan review and some of the problem sites that we have, getting those worked out. But I did put in the job description. I think it made its way into the final job description. May assist the Historic District Commission on some aspects as needed. And what that would mean is that we still, and Tony, you know, didn't arrive at that point either, but hopefully when we get the 3 positions, the 2 new positions, we'll have somebody that can follow up on the work, and then if there's work that's not being done correctly, somebody out in the field more. We talked to Tony about, you know, trying to get out in the field more. I know that has been a concern of the Historic District Commission for several years, is getting staff, you know, to take a look at these. projects to make sure, and to even potentially catch anybody who has recently did some work that wasn't, previously approved. So with this new position, I will be explaining the role of the Historic Preservation Officer and hoping that they take a little bit active interest in the field of historic preservation, and then that can kind of bleed over to some other things. Because the other thing that we stopped doing, and I know that it's beneficial to do it, is we had a newsletter. It was called The Heritage. And the benefit of doing that, as I explained to staff, was if somebody comes to the counter and they say, well, I didn't know I was in the historic district, you can say, well, we've got this newsletter, we send it out. I would like to see it at least twice a year, and be able to communicate with the property owners that they get something in the mail. Because the biggest problem that I see with our historic district is you don't know when you're in it, when you leave it. If you're in it, you're out of it. The other idea that I had seen, and we just haven't been able to get any traction, is street signs, and then there's like a metal plate that fits above it, so you don't have to change the street signs. It's just an attachment, and that would identify, the boundary of the district, because that would go a long way in letting people know that you're within a district. The newsletter would help for the people who like to say, even though they may know that they're in the district, well, I didn't know I was in the district. That would be a perfect opportunity for us to say, oh, well, we've been sending, and the identification markers would go a long way. We just need to have this position kind of bird dog some of those things. So
The other thing I was going to just mention, it came up in one of our discussions that the Bay Realtors, I had gone down to Berkshire. They had asked someone to come, they asked me to come talk to them about Historic District Commission, and I went down there, and they said it would be helpful for their realtors to have a letter that if they know that there's a home that they're selling in the district, that they could provide to the new owner, like upon closing, like, or prior to, I can't think of with contact information for your office, so that if they knew, but just so, as another opportunity for them to say you're in the district.
well, there's three things that we're trying to address on that. One is just this past week, the Realtors Association asked if I could go to their roundtable discussion. So I'm scheduled for their roundtable discussion October 24th, I think it is. And that's one of the things, because my boss knew I was busy, but when she asked, well, are you going to be able to do that? I said, well, it will be a chance to talk about the historic district, talk about, different things on rental properties. We get people who are realtors who look at a property, oh, there's 3 units in it, and then they start advertising it as a 3-unit rental. Well, it hasn't been registered for 20 years. The property owner claims certification. We don't know what's going on inside every house in Bay City, but based on that information, no, you can't reestablish it as a 3-unit. And we've had several in the last year that we had to, let the realtor know that, no, this cannot be sold as a rental property for 2 units or 3 units. It can't get registered as that. So I will be going to that. The other thing is, we've had hiccups in this, because I recall when I was doing it, then Scott McKillop, and then Tony, but we used to be provided from the County Register of Deeds a list of the recent sales. And I brought this up at a staff meeting, and we are looking to make sure that that connection gets reestablished, if it's coming from the county or if it's coming from our assessors, but it seems like it happens for a while and then it stops. So what that does is gives us an opportunity. We already have a form letter that says, hey, we recently noticed that you purchased a property in the historic district, and then it kind of explains that. So we need to get that list reestablished in our office for we know we can go through, and it only takes a minute to go through a sales list and, see what addresses, and that one we better look at, and then you get a letter sent out. So that's another useful thing that will help. And as far as the recording of a document, we talked about that when the district was created. The act actually requires that a copy of the ordinance be recorded at the county register of deeds, which was done. We had talked, but there was no budget to have something recorded on each individual property. But the cost would just be, the $30 each recording. It was just not realistic to do that. But we had thought, is there a way to put something at the county register of deeds, then if somebody was doing a title search to purchase a home or for any reason, that paperwork would show up that, yes, it is in a designated historic district. But the cost prevented us from doing that.
Keep us posted on all of that.
All right.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So is there support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:30.
All right, thank you for your time.